Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
All right, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Frankly Francisco podcast. This is my 35th and final episode of the year. I started the year speaking to an author. I'm ending the year speaking to an author. I'd like to introduce everybody to Jalesa Carroll. She is coming out with a book next year. Tell my audience a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Jalesa. I'm from a small town of Brunswick, Georgia, but right now I live in South Carolina, Rock Hill. Ain't too big, but I mean, I like it. It's different. 28 years old, no kids, single.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with being single. Ain't nothing wrong with having no kids. You living your life.
Right.
So this book, I had a chance to click on the link and get over to the site where you have it. I mean, this book is pretty heavy. So this book seems like it's a compilation of everything that's gone on in your life. What has that journey been like to put all this on paper and for you to throw all those emotions and all those things you've had locked up for a while on there?
Oh, man. So writing this book was a journey by itself because a lot of stuff I buried. A lot of stuff I kind of just like brushed off, like, you know what, I'm not going to deal with that right now. But writing this book, I started the process in July. And writing this book, it has been an emotional roller coaster, like ups and downs, crying, feeling angry, like questioning myself, finding out new things about myself that I didn't know, I was hiding inside. But writing this book taught me, that, wow, girl, you've really been through a lot. And to see where I was to who I am now, it has been a journey. And when I wrote the book, it was just like, dang, like it surprised me. And when I was writing it, like, God, you did go through that, didn't you? Because certain stuff, I just let it just die. Like I just, not die, but I just hid it so deep inside of myself. I was just like, I'm not going to deal with that.
I think self-consciously sometimes what happens is when you have trauma as a child or when you have trauma growing up, you bury it and that you repress it. So at some point in your life, you can be sitting down and something to trigger you and you just start crying and you don't understand why you're crying, but it's probably a repressive memory that you have that you don't realize that's coming to the surface subconsciously and you don't realize it. How many drafts of this did you have to go through before you finally came to realization this was it? It was complete. My book is done. I can show it and share it to the world.
Transparent moment. I was stuck on the introduction. Like I couldn't get past the introduction. My publisher said you have until November 15th to have it completely finished. To have a book completely finished, I pretty much wrote it within about 2 weeks. Like
really?
2 weeks. I tell you no lie.
Wow.
And I tell people when they ask me, well, what does it take to be an author? I said, because this is my story and I know my story better than anybody. And I knew the route I was going in. If you saw the cover, it was an abandoned house. Mm-hmm. So I was going off of the abandoned house using like certain chapters. I was describing houses like homeowners and co-owners. I was going that route. But once I got my content down, writing was just a breeze because it's my story. It's just me sharing my story with the world. So it took me about 2 weeks, honestly.
Wow, 2 weeks? I mean, I've seen people take years to finish a book on time. So tell me about the publishing. How did that come about? Because a lot of things now, people are doing, they're self-publishing now. People are self-publishing. They're getting to do the work themselves. And, how did you manage to get a publisher? Did the publisher love the story? How'd that deal come along?
So the person I found, we actually became friends on Clubhouse. And so she would host rooms about, manuscript and writer's blog, all type of stuff. I'm still self-published. When I go through the publishing company, it's just they're there to do the website, edit. They pretty much do me business cards.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so once everything is finished, it's all me. Like I'm still self-published, if that makes sense. But how I came by it, I prayed about it, honestly. I prayed about it and I met her on Clubhouse and just got to talking to her. And she was like, at first, this was her thing. She said, she said, I was unsure about you because I was on the emotional roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I didn't think you was going to make it. Like she told me straight, she said, I didn't think you was going to make it. But as the sessions went on, she was like, wow, like I could see you taking this story far and going big with it. Once I really let it all out and told her, like really talked to her, like be transparent. She was like, girl, your story is amazing. Like, come on, we need to write this now. So I just came about it, prayed about it, and that's how I met the publisher, through Clubhouse.
Well, I mean, everybody has their own personal journey that they have to go on. And I think you doing what you're doing now is something that needed to be done for you. You had to feel, that you gotten to a point where it was where it needed to happen. So that journey that you went on, when did this bubble up to the surface for you to just get it out there and say, the world needs to know about this. The world needs to know that the suffering that I've gone through and the pain that I've gone through, so people can learn from this and heal from their own personal wounds. At what point did you get that realization?
I always knew I was supposed to tell my story, but it wasn't until I just started, I started going through some stuff and I was like, man, it's just started to weigh heavy on me, my story, because, when people see me, they be like, oh, she's just a pretty girl. She ain't never been through nothing. But when you really talk to me, you hear my story, you be like, wow, like you really done been through stuff. So it started weighing really heavy on me. I'll say back in June, July, I kind of went through something and it reminded me of abandonment and rejection. And it was just like, I really need to like tell my story because I know it's another young lady or a young man that has went through what I went through. And it's been a long time coming, honestly. A long time coming.
Now, does it feel like this is a weight off your shoulders now? Does it feel like, some of that pressure is coming off of you now because you've been able to put everything on paper, so much emotion and so much hurt, but at the same time, does it lift you up now? Does it make you feel like you've gotten this burden off your chest because you've been able to put it on paper and you're realizing that you're letting all this stuff out? How does that make you feel now?
It makes me feel like really good. Just to be able to, when I talk to people now, I don't cry or I don't get all sad, or when somebody do something towards me, it doesn't make me, angry. I feel like I gotta go in fight mode. So really writing this, it's me really getting to know myself all over again, just to really see, like, read my own story and be like, wow, like you've been through that, but to see that you're not that same person, because who I was back then is not who I am now. So it's been a journey, and just to know that it took a lot for me to get here, but it makes me happy. Like, man, I've grown a lot. Like, even when people see me now, they be like, you're not the same person. Like, you're not who I used to know. Like, when we be in college, we used to be, wow. Like, people be like, oh my God, like, I love your journey. I have people watching me that I don't know that's watching me. So it just amazes me to know that people see something in me and I done realize who I am as well. So that's the key. You got to know who you are. You got to know who you are.
And that's the one thing people don't need to realize. Somebody's always watching, no matter what you do, especially if you're on social media, all these platforms. They may not comment, they may not like, but they're constantly watching you. They're seeing what you're posting, they're seeing what you're doing. But I think a journey like this can, take an emotional toll on somebody. But you getting this book done in 2 weeks, I mean, you were ready. It had to get said and it had to get done. So is this book going to be your last book, or is this going to be just one of many where you're just going to be able to just try to help people through emotional problems, help people, with things, anxiety, things that they've built up that they've been have not been able to put out there. So is this just going to be step one for you of many, or is this just the journey that you want to put out for now and then, move on to something else?
I think it's going to be more books in the future. I think this is just the start. Um, my story does not end with just abandonment, rejection, forgiveness. My story is continuing. And I believe the next book, I mean, it ain't going to happen soon, but I believe it's going to be more books in the future. This was just the start for me.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's what you want. You want this to continue on because it becomes evolution for you. You elevate yourself from the position that you were in to something else. It's like having an epiphany. Something just came to light for you, and something clicked in your brain, and boom, it's out there for the world to see. But who is this book specifically targeted to? There's a target audience. Everybody has one. Is it for little black girls? Is it for little black boys? Is it for the culture? Like, who is this book targeted for?
It's for anybody, male or female, but my target is teens to adolescent women, young girls. Because I know it was with myself, like we try to, hide certain things, or we be afraid to talk, but we start acting out with our emotions. We start doing stuff that's not of us, getting in relationships. So that's my target audience. But surprisingly, a lot of guys are very interested in the book.
Really?
So,
wow.
Yeah. I don't want to discriminate on nobody, but
yeah, obviously not. Yeah. Obviously not. You want the book to be, towards everybody. But when you write something like this is typically you have somebody in mind when you're writing it because it reminds you of yourself. So when you're saying adolescent girls, teenage girls, young girls, that's your target audience. That's who you're trying to mentor. Now, are you doing anything are you out in the community? Are you trying to mentor young people as well? Do you use your social platforms to do that?
So I have, and it's so funny, I have people at work that, kind of follow me around because I am older than them, but I have people at work. I do work with the youth at church. Just really whoever I come in contact with. I have tried the schools, but with COVID, it's kind of really hard. But I always saw myself being a mentor. So I'm open to really anything. But mainly I've been reaching out to girls at work mainly because that's where I'm at all the time.
Well, that's a good thing. I mean, listen, kids today were brought up a little bit different than the older generation. And I'm part of that older generation. I'm 42. So, we were raised a little bit different. Our emotions, we were taught to keep our emotions buried. We were taught, especially in Hispanic culture, it's, bro, man shouldn't cry, all that. But I think things have been changing where people are now wanting to express more emotion and guys too. So a lot of guys, like you said, which didn't really catch me too much off guard because right now, this generation, a lot of the kids are really, really sensitive to a lot of stuff. And it becomes how do we communicate with these kids? How do we put the message out there that it's okay for you to show your emotions? How do we put it out there to little girls to say, hey, if you're not comfortable with something, say something and somebody's going to listen to you. And I think with what you're doing with this book and all the stuff that you've put into the pages, I think it's going to help a lot of people in the future to deal with some of this emotional trauma that they've garnered over their lifetime. Where is this book going to be found, and when is the release date for the book? So
right now, because all the marketing stuff, that's all what I have to do. But right now, the book it's only on the website. The link I have is only on there. I'm working towards getting it on Amazon. I'm working towards trying to get it into libraries and audio because a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't read." Well, don't worry, it's going to be for the ones who don't read.
Really, they don't read?
Right, they don't read. They say, "Hey, I don't read books." Okay, it'll be audio. Just listen.
Hey, whatever's going to help you get your message out there, whether it's audio, whether it's, visual, whatever you have to do, to get the book out there, to get your message. Because a lot of times it's not about money. I think people get the misconception sometimes that when you do something all the time, it's about money. A lot of this is not about money. It's about emotional turmoil that you've been through that you want to release to the world and say, hey, I'm better now. I'm better. I've walked through the flames. I've stepped over the coals and now I'm whole again. Even if you were not 100% whole, we still have that trauma we're dealing with, but those wounds, tend to heal a little bit more. There's always going to be scars, always, no matter what. You're always going to have scarring from, emotional trauma that you've gotten, but those scars will heal over. And then, you just create new memories and you try to live a life where you don't pass that on to the next generation, or you can help the generation that's here now to deal with a lot of this stuff that's going on with them. But for you, how many chapters does this book have? How many, typically how many chapters, how many pages in the chapters does this book have for you?
So the book it's still somewhat with editing, but it's 3 parts and each part has 3 chapters total.
Okay. So there's a lot in those chapters then, because you're putting a lot on those pages for everybody to see. So do you want to have readings? Do you want to sit down and have some readings with, at bookstore or online? There's so many platforms right now where you don't even have to be in person to hold these meetings where a book reading. Like Twitter right now has this thing where you can go on, people would just like talk voice talking. Which is, I find really weird. Like on Twitter, you're doing it on Twitter. They have these little groups where you can just go on. There's a presenter and there's talkers and people just talk. It's instead of being on video, it's voice. It's amazing. But you have, you're on IG as well, and you're on Facebook. So is this page, are you making a fan page for the actual book itself, or people can follow you just on Facebook just for you?
And I thought long and hard about that because I kind of want people to see my journey, like where I came from to who I am now. Mm-hmm. Once I think I want to keep it on my personal page, so they can see the journey. Like I'm no different from you. Like I done did some stuff. I done been that wild girl. So I kind of want them to see who I used to be to who I am now, the growth. So I'm gonna keep it on my page. Now, if I can't add nobody else on my page, then we'll have a fan page. But right now, I'm gonna keep it on my page.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to get the fan page out there because then people, you can grow it as big as you want with the fan. There's no limit on the fan page. On your personal page, that might be a limit to how many friends you can have on that page to go there. So what are the plans for you? What's the next steps now? I know you have to promote, correct? You have to promote.
A lot of promoting. Really, I want to do a book tour. I do want to do that, but I'm in 2 small towns, but it's all about making connections with people. But I see myself doing a book tour. With this book, I do want to start like a nonprofit mentoring young girls. I'm not gonna lie, I thought about like a little book club, like we can like read the chapters and ask me questions. But so far it's just really like promoting, getting my name out there. Like, but I don't want people to like, I think it says in the Bible, your gift will make room for you. So it's just like, I just want people to see the book, like read the book. Don't get to know me, but read the book and know my journey. But I just really see this book taking me all over the world. I'm speaking at traveling.
And that's the mentality you have to have because it's the message behind the book that you're trying to put out into the world. So I did an episode of a month back or a couple months back about cutting off toxic people in your life, especially family. Because when I read the description of your book, that was one of the things you talked about is making yourself feel, you're dying inside because you're trying to keep, family that shouldn't be kept because, it's a cultural thing that we do. And it's black or brown, it doesn't matter. It's a cultural thing. And we need to learn how to cut off people that are toxic to us mentally, emotionally, and physically. And sometimes it's hard for us to do that because they're blood, but blood doesn't always mean your family. It doesn't. So At what point did you learn how to separate that though? Like what triggered you to separate, to get rid of all that toxicity out of your life? I mean, it's got to be hard, especially when, it's, I'm assuming, it's close family members you have to cut off.
Mm-hmm.
What did it take for you to get there?
Oh, I'm gonna be really transparent. Before I did this call with you, my mother called me and just called me all type of names. So if my eyes a little red, because I had to like woo-saw before I got on.
Let it out. Yeah, let it out.
I got to a point to where I just got tired. Like I always been that person that was a giver, that person, where you could talk about me, but I still do for you. But when I moved away, like to a whole nother state, and I always been alone all my, growing up. But when I really moved away and realized like, they really don't care for you how you might care for them, if that makes sense. Like moving away.
I know.
Yeah. You don't get calls, you don't get text messages. Like only time somebody call you is to gossip, or they call you like she did to go at it with me. So I just had to find, like, if you interrupt my peace, then that's it. Like block.
And I think that's the most important thing, is finding peace. Is finding peace with yourself. I right now I tell people all the time, my wife's the only person I want to be around. Like she's the only person I want, because I don't want to deal with drama. It's not worth it. I mean, I can go hang out with her. We can go to the movies. We can go out to dinner. It's finding that peace to make you calm, where it's going to keep you away from all the other stuff. You know what I mean? And I think you were starting to get to that point where, listen, your worth. You know what you've done. You know what you've been able to do. You don't need the drama in your life, whether it's your mom, whether it's your dad, your brothers. It doesn't matter. You have to find a point in your life where you just got to cut off everything that doesn't work for you anymore. That's not healthy for you mentally. You know what I mean? And it's sometimes it's tough. It is, because at the end of the day, you still love your parents. You still love your family. You just can't keep them in your life like you used to.
Yeah, they can't go to the next level. And I think that's what people, feel like when you make it, you got to take everybody with you. That's not the case. Certain people are only to help you in that season or teach you a lesson in that season, but that doesn't mean they're going with you. Like every next level that you go, God's going to bring people that should be connected to you to help you grow. And that's what I had to learn. Like some people I can call on the phone and just talk about whatever. And certain people, you know what, how you doing? How life treating you? All right, it was nice talking to you. Leave it short and sweet, but it's just, you really got to understand people. I mean, understand who is like for you and who is God saying can go to the next level, because everybody can't go. Everybody can't go.
So let me ask you a question. You are going to mentor people. Do you have a mentor yourself? Do you have somebody that gives you guidance when you need it? Because listen, I'm the type of person that will give people advice left and right, but me getting advice has always been tough. So do you have a mentor? Do you have somebody that you can go to and turn to when you're giving advice, but you need advice on the back end?
You answered some good questions. Yeah. So growing up, I didn't have that. I didn't have somebody I could call or be a mentor. And honestly, I still don't have that. So, and I don't want to sound holy or nothing, but legit, like God is my best friend. Like if I need something, God is there. If I need to give somebody, and people always say, you wise to be 28. You know what? Because I have those talks with God. I had to get to know God for myself. I mean, it's certain people I could call here and there, but what I learned is you have to really know people, know what they are in your life. Certain people you can't tell everything to, certain people you can't take advice from. So I have certain people, I won't say I have a set mentor. I'm seeking and praying for one, but I don't have that.
So the one thing I will say, and sometimes it'll come to you. And I tell people all the time, faith, I don't care what you are. I don't care what religion you are. People got to have faith in something. You got to have faith. I don't care what God you pray to. I don't care what religion you're in. As long as you have faith in something and you believe in the power of that, it's going to help you get through. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people don't realize that faith has gotten people through a lot in their life. You know, a lot of struggles, a lot of things that they didn't think they were going to overcome. They've overcome because they've had faith. They've had faith in themselves and they have faith in the God that they believe in. And I think that's a good thing. I think if that's where you find your strength, if that's where you find that extra kick that you need to get yourself going, then do it. Pray. If that's what works for you, do it. No one should knock you for how you choose to worship or how you choose to find your inner strength that you need to continue on doing the things that you're doing, because you're overcoming. You're overcoming and you're doing the things you need to do. And you should congratulate yourself on that, because it's a big deal. When you have trauma like that, it becomes hard sometimes to overcome that trauma. And we fall into the trope of, you know, we become drug addicts, or we become, you know, drug dealers, and we go to jail, we go to prison, we become abusive, and we pass that abusiveness on to our kids. And you're trying to break that cycle. You're trying to break that cycle. And you know, I praise you for that. I think you're on the right track doing the things you need to do. It's going to take time. Nothing's ever perfect. You know, nobody in this world is perfect. 6 billion people on the planet, not a one of them. Not a one of them is perfect. And we just have to continue to keep going on. So for you, what are your handles? Where can people find you at? And where can they find your book?
So right now, I'm only on Instagram at Jalesa Carroll. That's JALESA CARROLL. And I'm also on Facebook at Jalesa J Carroll. Those are the only two. I was on Twitter, but I think I'm gonna just make a new one. So I don't have Twitter yet. I have it, but I want to get rid of that one. But I can't even say I'm on Clubhouse no more like that either. So, but if I am on Clubhouse, it's still my first and last name.
I've never, I'll be honest with you, I've never even been on Clubhouse. I don't even know what it is, honestly. There's so many social media sites out there right now. I don't know.
Yeah. I stayed on that too much. I was like, I need a break. And once I got off, I never got back on. So
it happens. It happens. Listen, I'm so glad you came on the show. I'm so glad that you've been able to pour your heart out onto these pages, and you're going to pass your message on to this generation and to the next generation. Just keep moving forward and doing the things that you're doing, and it'll come. You know, is it always going to be perfect? No. Is it always going to be a struggle? No, it's not going to be perfect, but it's not always going to be a struggle. You'll find that peace and that levity that you need to continue on to be and find your greatness and strive for that greatness. So I appreciate you coming on the show. It's been very, very lovely talking to you. You are welcome back anytime. When the book actually hits out and you have it, let me know. We'll bring you back on the show. Maybe you can read a chapter while we're on here so we can, kick off next year in a good way. I appreciate you coming on. Everybody, please go follow her on her socials, the IG and the Facebook, and we will talk to you folks later. Have a good New Year's.
Thank you.